House is among the first financial investment that most people do when they start their family. And it's extremely important to ensure that we get it right when we do it the first time. Today we're going to focus on what are the 10 things that one needs to keep in mind and remember when one is taking a housing loan. Nobody buys a house without taking a home loan. And today's episode is directed towards those 10 points that one needs to remember when you take a home loan. First up, is extremely important to check your ability to repay before you take a commitment, especially a commitment like a housing loan, which is very, very long term. Extremely important to check the ability for you to service so that you are not overstretching yourself where you may not be able to keep up that commitment. A rule of thumb in a mortgage repayment which is called 2836. Now 2836 refers to the fact that if you are considering a mortgage loan, then 28% of your monthly income must go towards your living expenses and 36% must go towards all your loan repayments. Anything more than 36% of your monthly cash flow is referred to as overstretching yourself and may not be able to sustain in the long term. So very important to take loans where the EMIs are easily within what you can pay. In fact, most housing finance companies follow a rule that they will give you loans which are 40 times your monthly salary. So if your monthly salary is say a lakh of rupees, then you may consider that 40 lakhs is the broad limit which the housing finance company will give you for a loan. Second up, you need to ensure that you take the loan for the period which is reasonable for your consideration. Given that homes are meant for long-term living, 25, 30, 40 years, ideal to take home loans for a period of 15 or 20 years as the case may be. It's quite possible that as your earnings go up, your ability to repay has increased and therefore you may choose to foreclose it much earlier. Many people close their loans in 9 years or 10 years as the case may be. But when you start the loan, always give yourselves the advantage of time and take it for 15 or 20 years so that initially you go through a less stressful period in terms of size of EMI. Third, always remember that don't go with what you are eligible for, go for what you need. It's quite possible based on calculation that you're eligible for a much higher loan than what you actually need. Always go with what you need and not what you may get. Because invariably monies that you borrow which gets then spent on other things goes away waste. So extremely important to go with what you need and not what the housing finance company may make you eligible for. Fourth, ensure that your EMIs are paid on time and are honored. EMIs are the amounts that gets debited every month from your bank account after the loan repayment process has started. Very, very important because your CIBIL score, which is your credit worthiness, is linked to the repayment of the loan. And any slip up on that will make your loan costlier and will make your future loans more difficult for you to pay. We would normally suggest up to 3 or 4 EMIs be kept in the bank separately so that it honors it whether you have a monthly cash flow or not, would be the ideal way. Fifth is to ensure that the whole loan gets covered by a insurance. Typically a term insurance is a good way to cover a mortgage loan because it gives the risk cover at a very low cost. So that in the event that something were to happen to the person, the family does not have to run pillar to post and the insurance money will go to the lender and the house will be retained by the family. 6. Consider a lender, home loan lender that you have comfort with. What do we mean by comfort? There are different people who lend for home loan purposes, but it's extremely important to find out the one that suits you the best. The best rates come from banking institutions which have the support of National Housing Bank because they get refinance options there from. Therefore, their rates are likely to be the lowest. Having said that, also important to find somebody who is accessible to you, who is near your home or office where you can walk in and get yourself clarified. Also check with friends and neighbors about their experience with that particular home loan company and how their experience was in terms of processing and various other stuff. I'm sure based on all this, you would get a certain comfort with a certain home loan company, which you can then go forth with. Next up, always remember that home loans are essentially instruments that are meant for family at large. So when you take a home loan, keep people at home informed about it. Not that you take a decision by yourself and go. It's an asset for the family. So the liability also needs to be informed to all the family members. Do not take more than one home loan. If you have many loans, consider to kind of optimize all the loans together before you take a new loan. It does not make sense to keep taking loan over loan unless you can find which is the lowest cost loan and optimize your whole loan process. Extremely important not to keep multiple loans going. Loan documents are reasonably difficult documents. They're meant to be difficult to read, but the God resides in the fine print. So read the fine print in detail. I know it is difficult for normal people, but it's extremely important that you consider and understand all the fine print and get yourself clarified wherever you have doubts, rather than go blindly and sign documents. Extremely important to understand the loan documents on simple terms like repayment and so on and so forth. Every home loan company has its own set of conditionalities. Read the fine print, very, very important. Last but not the least is there is a certain age for loans. It's extremely important. Loans, especially home loans, are given based on the premise that you stay employed and you have a repayment capability. So use that advantage well when you're young. The younger you are and the more time you have for repayment, the better is your prospect of getting a higher loan and a longer tenure. Say as an example, somebody who is at 55 years old applying for a loan would stand a difficult chance of getting the best loan possible as compared to somebody who is 30 years old would stand the best chance. So the younger you are, the better is the prospect of getting a home loan. So use age to your advantage as well. I hope these 10 points on taking a home loan serve you well. I think it's a great asset for you to have, but use these 10 points effectively to get a good deal for yourself.